When people talk about freedom on the Linux desktop, they often mean philosophical freedom, the freedom to inspect source code, the freedom to modify and redistribute software. But there is another kind of freedom that matters just as much in everyday use, and that is practical control. Control over how your system looks, how it behaves, how it responds to your input, and how deeply you can shape it to match the way your brain works. This Linux desktop is special because it pushes that idea of control further than almost anything else in the mainstream desktop world. From the moment you log in, it becomes clear that nothing is locked away from you, nothing is treated as too sacred to touch, and nothing assumes that the developer knows better than you. This is a desktop environment designed around the idea that your computer belongs to you, not the other way around. At first glance, it can look familiar, even boring, especially to people coming from Windows or macOS. A panel, a launcher, a system tray, windows with title bars. But that familiarity is a deliberate choice. It lowers the barrier to entry, making the environment feel approachable, while quietly hiding an astonishing level of depth underneath. Almost every visible element on the screen is configurable, replaceable, movable, or removable. Panels are not fixed to the bottom of the screen. You can move them to any edge, split them, resize them, or delete them entirely. You can add multiple panels, each serving a different purpose, or create a setup with no panels at all. Widgets can live on panels or directly on the desktop, and they are not just decorative clocks or weather displays. Many of them are deeply integrated tools that expose system functionality in ways most desktops hide behind menus. The launcher itself is just one option among many. You can use a traditional cascading menu, a full-screen application grid, a minimal search-driven launcher, or something in between. You can even mix them, assigning different launchers to different panels or hotkeys. And if none of the built-in options fit your workflow, you can install third-party launchers or write your own. Keyboard shortcuts are not treated as fixed commandments handed down by developers. Nearly every action the desktop can perform can be bound to a key combination, a mouse gesture, or even a screen edge. You can create shortcuts that launch applications, move windows, switch virtual desktops, trigger scripts, or change system settings instantly. Window management is another area where this desktop shines. Instead of enforcing a single way of handling Windows, it gives you a toolkit and lets you decide how strict or loose you want things to be. You can use it like a traditional floating window desktop, freely resizing and overlapping windows. You can enable tiling features that snap windows into predefined zones. You can configure window rules that automatically place specific applications on specific virtual desktops, screen positions, or even with specific sizes and decorations. If you want your browser to always open maximized on desktop 2, and your chat application to always open on the right side of desktop 1 without a title bar, you can do that. These rules are not hacks or hidden config files. They are first-class features exposed through a graphical interface. Virtual desktops and activities add another layer of control. Virtual desktops are not just a way to reduce clutter. They can be named, reordered, and configured independently. Activities go even further, allowing you to create entirely different working contexts. Each activity can have its own set of widgets, wallpapers, virtual desktops, and running applications. You can have one activity for work, another for personal browsing, another for creative tasks, each one feeling like a different computer. Switching between them is instant, and the desktop remembers where everything belongs. This is not about multitasking in the traditional sense. It is about mentally separating different parts of your life and having your computer reflect that separation. The level of visual customization available is often the first thing people notice. Themes control not just colors but window decorations, widget styles, icons, cursors, and even system sounds. You can mix and match these components freely, creating combinations that suit your taste rather than being locked into a single aesthetic. If you do not like how a theme handles buttons or shadows, you can tweak it. If you want transparency, blur effects, or subtle animations, they are there. If you want everything flat, sharp, and instant, you can disable animations entirely. The compositor itself is configurable, allowing you to balance visual polish against performance based on your hardware and preferences. But this desktop is not just about looking pretty or feeling customizable for the sake of it. The control extends deep into system behavior. Power management settings allow you to define exactly how your system responds to inactivity, low battery, or lid closure. You can create different power profiles for plugged-in and battery use, or even for specific activities. Audio routing is flexible, letting you choose where sound goes on a per-application basis. Network management is powerful without being opaque, exposing advanced options when you need them while staying out of the way when you do not. File management is another area where control matters. The default file manager is not just a place to browse files. It is a powerful tool that can be customized to an extreme degree. You can choose how information is displayed, what metadata is shown, how previews work, and how navigation behaves. You can add custom context menu actions, turning the file manager into a front end for scripts and workflows. Need to batch rename files in a very specific way, synchronize directories, or run custom commands on selected files. These capabilities are built in, not bolted on. One of the most overlooked aspects of control is consistency. On many platforms, you might be able to customize one part of the system deeply while another remains rigid and unchangeable. Here, the philosophy is consistent across the entire environment. The same design principles apply whether you are adjusting a panel, configuring a window rule, or changing a system behavior. Settings are centralized, searchable, and documented. You are not expected to memorize obscure configuration files or terminal commands just to make basic changes, though those options are available if you want them. This balance between graphical accessibility and underlying power is what makes the desktop appealing to both newcomers and power users. The desktop also respects different input methods. Mouse, keyboard, touchpad, touchscreen, and even graphics tablets are treated as first-class citizens. You can configure gestures for touchpads, define how scroll wheels behave, adjust acceleration curves, and fine-tune sensitivity. Keyboard navigation is not an afterthought. You can operate nearly the entire desktop without touching the mouse if you choose, creating a fast, efficient workflow that feels more like driving a tool than navigating an interface. Under the hood, this desktop is built on technologies that prioritize modularity. Components are designed to be replaceable, which is why the ecosystem around it is so rich. If you do not like the default terminal, you can replace it. If you want a different window decoration engine, you can switch it. If you prefer a different system monitor, file previewer, or text editor, integration is seamless. The desktop does not try to funnel you into a single blessed set of applications. Instead, it provides strong defaults and then steps back, trusting you to make your own choices. This approach contrasts sharply with more locked-down environments that emphasize simplicity by removing options. Those environments often assume that most users do not want to think about customization. And for some people, that is true. But for others, especially those who spend hours every day in front of a computer, small inefficiencies and annoyances add up. This Linux desktop recognizes that reality. It assumes that users are capable of understanding their own needs and gives them the tools to address them. Performance is another area where control matters. Because you can disable features you do not use and tune the system to your hardware, the desktop can scale from low-end machines to high-end workstations. It can feel light and responsive on older laptops while still offering advanced effects on modern GPUs. Memory usage, background services, and startup behavior can all be adjusted. You are not stuck with a one-size-fits-all configuration. The development culture behind this desktop plays a huge role in why it feels the way it does. Decisions are often driven by user feedback rather than rigid design dogma. When features are added, they are usually optional rather than mandatory. Backwards compatibility is taken seriously, which means long-time users can upgrade without feeling like their workflow has been ripped away. At the same time, the platform continues to evolve, adopting new technologies like Wayland, improving security models, and refining performance. There is also a strong emphasis on transparency. When something goes wrong, logs and diagnostic tools are accessible. Error messages are not hidden behind vague alerts. This makes troubleshooting less frustrating and reinforces the sense that the system is not working against you. Even if you never touch these tools, knowing they are there contributes to a feeling of trust. For creators and developers, the control this desktop offers can be transformative. Being able to shape your environment around your tools, your projects, and your habits can significantly improve focus and productivity. Multiple monitors are handled gracefully, with independent scaling, panels, and wallpapers. You can create layouts that make sense for coding, video editing, audio production, or design work, and switch between them effortlessly. Despite all this power, the desktop does not force complexity on you. You can install it, use the defaults, and be perfectly productive without ever opening a settings panel. The difference is that when you hit a limitation, when you think, I wish it worked like this instead, the answer is often, it can. That is a rare feeling in modern computing. Ultimately, what makes this Linux desktop special is not any single feature, but the mindset it embodies. It treats the computer as a tool to be shaped by its owner. It assumes that control is not a niche desire but a fundamental part of user empowerment. In a world where many platforms are moving toward tighter control, more abstraction, and fewer choices, this desktop stands as a reminder that another approach is possible. An approach where flexibility is not seen as a flaw, where users are trusted, and where your system can truly become an extension of how you think and work. This is not just a desktop environment. It is a statement about what personal computing can be when control is put back into the hands of the user.